This is the China Hollywood Greenlight podcast, episode 39.
And rolling sound. Quiet. Here we go. Ready.
Speeding.
120, take 7. And action.
This is Caryn McCann, the host of the China Hollywood Greenlight podcast, a podcast about creating and distributing content for both Hollywood and China. If you like the show, please go to your favorite podcast directory, subscribe, and leave a rating so other people can find this podcast. The more we work together, the more opportunities will be out there for everyone. Any links mentioned in the podcast can be found in the show notes at chinahollywoodgreenlight.com/podcast, and look for this episode, which is number 39. Before I introduce today's guest, I'd like to start out with a motivational quote to encourage our listeners to continue on their path to achieving their own green light. And today's quote is from George Eliot, and he said, "It is never too late to be what you might have been." A quick update on what I'm working on. I got feedback from some Chinese and American readers on my low-budget action fantasy script. The working title is The Magic Bookshop. I like the ideas I got, and I am busy with the rewrite now. I also connected with lots of folks online during the American film market, and I'm happy to say more writers and producers have signed up for the China List. The China List is a membership website to connect writers and producers in Hollywood and China. Producers and talent reps get free membership. Just go to https://chnlist.com. I'm also considering what database to open next. Stage 1 of the China List is to connect writers and producers. If you go to the How to Work With Us tab on the China List website, you'll see plans for future databases. These include directors and producers looking for distribution. Number 2, sales agents looking for finished films. Number 3, film crew looking to get hired. Number 4, producers looking to hire film crew. Number 5, script analysis and screenplay consultants. And number 6, a mastermind group. I will take a survey to see which database should be open next. I'll update you where you can take the survey and make your vote count. Now, here is the main segment. Today's guest is Luo Tong, who has been producing documentary content since 2002. She has been the driving force behind a number of successful independent films, including A Farewell Song, 2006, and The Poseidon Project, 2013. She is also the producer of a multi-award-winning documentary, The Six, 2021. The film chronicles the untold story of the 6 Chinese survivors of the Titanic. Luo Tong founded LostPensivos Films, a full-service production house based in Shanghai. The company quickly established itself as one of the go-to providers for both local clients and international brands seeking to enter the Chinese market, creating impactful TVC and web advertising content, and specializes in legacy documentary. She has worked extensively with international media organizations, including APTN, BBC, ITV, NPR, APM, Discovery Channel, and National Geographic Channel as the China producer. Well, Luo Tong and Matthew Baren, her creative director, welcome to the show today.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Hi, nice to be here.
Well, I usually say to my Western guests, why did you want to enter the China market? You're doing both, the Western and the China market. So I'll change my first question to, why do you want to enter the international market, not just China, but the international market?
Well, I think what we do here, we would like to be seen by international audience. It's not just, I've set up the company since 2002, and initially we were just like, 3 youngsters wanting to make films to change the world. That was our dream 18 years ago, and we ended up making corporate films and commercials. And then one thing we never give up is making documentaries. So alongside making those commercial projects, also established our awareness in the documentary field. So over the past, or nearly 2 decades, we produced short and longer form documentaries for ourselves, like independent documentaries, and also for clients who are interested in telling their stories in the documentary format. So I think because the way that we work, we would like the international audience to get to know our stories. That's why we don't want to just be focusing on the China market. We also want to establish our awareness internationally.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to add to what Luo Tong was saying. I think one of the things that's a little bit more unique about LostPensivos films is that whether it's an independent documentary or it's something corporate or whatever, even a TV commercial, everything we do is very story driven.
Right.
We want to find the heart, we want to find the character behind whatever the project might be. And I think that storytelling is an international language, and we've been quite successful with that approach. I think it makes us stand out a little.
Yes, exactly. Well, you do so many things. You've got the film side. You've also got the international brands seeking to enter the China market. This is, I know, especially now with COVID, there's no such thing as a typical day. But what are 2 or 3 main tasks you do on a, quote, typical day?
Well, we talk to clients about our ideas. Mm-hmm. Well, usually it would be something that some want to make a film about their products, about their brand, and they would approach us and they would come to us and have either have meetings here in my office, or we go to the client's office, and then we listen to their ideas, and then we come up with our concepts. And then if they like the idea, then we come back and we will work on writing some treatment for the concept we just established. And then Matthew would probably spend a lot of time researching the background and working on wording and packaging it into something nice. And then I think that's like a part of the creative side. That's the creative side.
I mean, we're quite for a company with such a sort of broad brief and such big clients. We're actually a relatively small team of people, and I mean, everyone sort of has their role their skills that they bring to the office. We're also we're very collaborative at all levels. Whilst I might have the main responsibility for the ideation and the sort of concepting of something, everybody's creativity, everybody's input counts. So it is interesting. Like my reaction to your question is, it's hard to sort of say what are sort of 3 things we do every day, right. Because it's always such an ongoing process. There's always something happening. We're always working across multiple different things at different stages.
So I switch between edit suites on different projects, because different speed of the projects, ongoing projects, and I have to make sure they are to our standards and make sure that clients are happy with the outcome. And then there's other aspect where we have to chase clients for payment, dealing with the legal side of it. Right. And sometimes negotiating with different aspects, either clients or vendors. Although I don't really negotiate with vendors. They just quote whatever the amount and we'll pay them.
Now, I just want to double check something. Luo Tong, you mentioned that Matthew, sometimes you will package projects. When you say package, do you mean because I know you have a film team. Do you package means bring in a director, or what does that mean?
Well, most of our projects are directed and produced internally, unless we're providing production services to, say, something like National Geographic. Okay. In terms of my role, it's sort of packaging together the ideas, like pulling together, digesting a brief, putting forward a proposal, that kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, that's the like the initial packaging, the most important packaging actually. Once the clients buy the idea, that they from that packaging they will like the whole concept. And then the second phase of packaging is our producers or production managers. They would put together a team of crew and scheduling. That's the second part, but that part will come only when the first part is confirmed.
Right. Okay. Well, speaking of clients, how do you find your business partners, and how do you suggest the listeners find perhaps a Chinese partner or a Chinese producer?
Oh, well, you've already found your Chinese.
There you go.
It's Luo Tong right here.
There you go. Good answer.
Well, you mean to find a team?
How, when you are doing business, how do you bring in clients, or how do you find these jobs?
Our company has been established for a while, so I'm not sure. Our name is kind of out there.
Okay, there you go.
Most of the time, they kind of approached us. I mean, probably like 18 years ago, we put up some of our work online, and then that was the initial trigger that got us into getting some jobs, very simple jobs. But eventually, because we over the years we have produced quite a lot of stuff, and then those works, say the things themselves. They don't really need to advertise that much. And then if the clients see our work, they like them, they would find a way to find us. So I think most of the time they kind of approached us, and then we were like, okay, we could do it, or we can't do it, or we don't like it, or we like it. It's not, we didn't spend much time going around advertising ourselves, looking for jobs.
Yeah,
to be honest.
And I mean, of course, The Six is a great example of this. We made The Six because it was a story we cared passionately about, and it really was a labor of love for about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, oh, my goodness.
Not that. And now it's gone out into the world, and we had a huge nationwide theatrical release here in China. Many people went to see it. It's generated huge amounts of discussion and interest, and of course, people who they've gone and seen it in the cinema with their family or friends, and they have a project they want, and now they approach us because of that. And the same is true.
Right.
So many things we've made in previous years.
Okay. Well, speaking of previous jobs, what obstacle did you encounter in a past project? How did you overcome it, and what did you learn?
Well, I tend to forget those obstacles.
LT's a very positive person.
Okay, good.
So I think sometimes when there's an interesting project and we really wanted to do it, and we prepared so much, we did a huge amount of research and put together a great treatment, and then after 3-4 times of pitching sessions and discussions, and then they finally didn't choose us. That was kind of difficult for us, but that was a kind of obstacle for me, because I had to like overcome my own issues with like kind of regretting spending so much money, not just money, so much time on preparing a large scale project, but and in the end it didn't get it. And I could have, at the time I thought I could have spent the same amount of effort into doing something else, and that would probably have brought me something much better. But then usually things turn out quite nice in the end, because if you miss that opportunity, you kind of use the experience to somehow work on another project, and it got you much better deal. So in the end, it all worked out perfectly.
I mean, I think like any of your listeners who are also sort of working within film and film production will know that it can be physically exhausting, mentally exhausting. These very long hours, very tight schedules, kind of thing. And like for me, I studied film at university, but this job was my entry into the industry in a sort of full-time professional sense. And right from the off, you're thrown into the fire. You have to pick this up very quickly, of course, don't you? And I think that learning that it's nothing necessarily wrong with you.
Right.
Project falls through for the client's funding, or if an idea is ultimately rejected or whatever, you do the best you can. And I think coming at it purely from a creative side, again, one of the things that I think is really great about a company like this one is that we have a very clear idea of the kind of approach you want to take. Every project is a little different, but as I said earlier, like storytelling is so very central to everything that we do. That if a pitch or an idea doesn't pan out in the end, Luo Tong will always turn around to me and the rest of the team, and we'll be able to genuinely say we did the best we could. We did exactly what we set out to do, when we stuck to our kind of core beliefs and our core principles in terms of this is how we want to make it. It's never let's just take this person's money and give them whatever they want. We always want to collaborate and guide a client towards telling their story in the best way possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I think I remember there were a few times when I thought that might be the kind of the obstacles that I had to face. It was when clients and your director had different ideas, you had to nurture your director to pep talk him or her into being comfortable and being encouraged. But at the same time, you also need to take whatever the client's comments on criticizing the work that your director has done, and that has become something that I'm quite skillful of now.
There you go.
So sometimes you have to make calls on certain things, like, okay, that's it. We're doing this project for money, so let's just move on. Don't linger too much on very precise details, and try to persuade the director into giving up on certain things, like a little patch on a neck skin or whatever.
Right.
Like that. And then sometimes when the director had a very specific vision of certain things, and he or she would go to the editor and then basically completely changed the idea that the client wanted. So So it's kind of doubled the amount of time that the editor had to work on the piece. And in the end, it was really it was quite difficult to go through that period of time.
Wrangling creative people.
Yeah. That's the way to put it. Now, if you could magically solve two current problems, you mentioned a couple already, but if you could magically solve two current problems, what would they be?
Problems that we face with the work we do.
Yes, it could be micro problems, could be macro problems. I mean, the whole industry, or it could just be stuff your company faces.
Great. It's quite hard to think of.
One thing we talk about intermittently, and especially in relation to so we finished The Six, and Luo Tong is actually in the process of directing a documentary herself at the moment, and we've been talking on and off about the prominence of women in the film industry, and it's a conversation that's gone on for a long time. And has certainly sort of come back around again with force in the past couple of years. And it's a conversation that, like when we discuss these things internationally, it can be very America-centric. But of course, these conversations are happening in China as well. And the women are still very underrepresented in key production roles, whether that be director, producer, DP, editor, and so forth. And I mean, you said talk about a micro problem. There's so many micro problems within that, but it's a big macro problem.
Is that in China? Is this worldwide? Are you talking about China?
I think it's certainly worldwide, and the conversation is being had in China.
Good.
I don't know necessarily that there is a solution being found at the moment. But certainly, if we think about it in terms of our independent work, seeing major festivals, foregrounding female-led work, this kind of thing. I mean, it's something it's a different and I think highly positive experience to have female team members, and it's something that this office has. And which I think makes us better. It makes us better filmmakers in a way. Makes us better storytellers. Certainly with the project that we're working on, having female editing staff has been hugely valuable in sort of crafting that story in a way that our male editors, as talented and experienced as they are, they don't know how to find that story in the same way.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's balancing. I think it's balancing the perspectives. Right. It could view things from different point of view. It's actually a satisfying experience to be able to do that.
Is there a second problem you would like to magically solve?
Good question. Maybe I don't know. Better coffee on set. One thing that's unusual about being in China. So this goes so far off topic. About being in Shanghai is that whilst coffee is still a relatively new beverage for many parts of the country, Shanghai has more coffee shops than any other city in the world. And yet, still, sometimes we end up with the worst coffee on set, which on days when you've been doing a 12, 14-hour shoot, you just really want a nice cup.
Talking about female filmmakers, there's one thing. When I first joined the industry in China, there was an old tradition. I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but female staff, female crew members were not allowed to sit on apple boxes because because it had some kind of bad influence from the.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that I was told, because I've never worked on any sets that wouldn't allow sit on apple boxes. Probably I didn't need to sit on apple boxes anyway. But I was told much later that this was the old tradition. But because I've always worked on, since very early, I've always worked on my own sets. So I am the boss. I do whatever I want.
There you go.
So
Good.
it doesn't matter how many apple boxes I want to sit on. If you won't let me, you're fired.
There you go.
It never happened to me. But that was a weirdest thing to me that such, things would even happen, would even occur on film sets. I don't know if it, any like these kind of situations would happen in any other countries. I don't.
I mean, you hear stories, certainly from like American film sets of a female DP or a female director will be on set, and someone in the crew will just assume they're there as a PA to get the coffee or to the team or whatever. Like, yeah, just those kind of assumptions. It's really problematic, whether it's sitting on apple boxes or refusing to recognize women in positions of power on film sets. It hurts the industry. It hurts everybody, and it doesn't change.
Now, for people who don't know, what just tell our audience, what are apple boxes?
Oh, apple boxes is like those wooden boxes.
Crates.
Yeah, just like a crate, I guess.
And they didn't want you to sit down? Did they give you a chair?
Well, because I don't really have the experience.
Okay.
I will always be given a chair, but because I paid for the whole set. So it was just a funny, like they told me, they were making jokes. They were saying that, now you're sitting on a chair, but in the old days, women are not allowed
to sit down. Wow.
To even sit on apple boxes.
Wow. Wow. That's tough. Well, let's talk about the future. Let's look forward to the future. What sort of future projects are you looking for? Film, TV, corporate projects? And what do you think the Chinese studios are looking for?
I think Chinese studios, well, from my very limited knowledge about the Chinese studios, I think they have a lot of film studios. They are capable of getting funding, and they actually really want to establish their awareness. They want to have their titles distributed outside of China. I know that for sure.
Okay.
And then you can see there are a lot of films nowadays. They have kind of a Chinese element built into like big Hollywood movies.
Right.
This was the beginning of what China filmmakers they want to get into the international market. And you see a lot of China-made films slowly getting into international market. They really want to try to build their reputation internationally. That's for sure. That's the vibe here.
And what projects are you looking for?
Well, I am currently working on a documentary because that's what we do. We are a documentary making company and production house. Yes, and we It's a story about a group of women in their 40s, mid 40s, but they were teenagers when, in the 90s, and that was when China just opened up the country, and a lot of things were changing very fast at the time. So 30 years later, looking back into this group of women, and then what they have experienced, what they have witnessed the past 30 years, and how they have become. Wow. It's kind of reflecting to all women in their 40s now in this country.
Right.
Sort of just how those changes, not just like legal changes, but sort of cultural expectations of what being a woman life had to offer you,
right.
And did you still have to go the route of find a husband, have babies, and be a wife and a mother, or what were the other opportunities out there?
Yeah, well, is marrying your only way out? Can you have a second husband? Stuff like that.
Wow.
Or are you, if you were in an abuse,
have a career?
Is career more important, or being independent would be whether you were judged by your family, by your friends? Whether do you dare to leave an abusive family? Stuff like that. It's quite interesting following this group of women, getting to know their personal stories, and to be able to share with the world. That's satisfying.
That sounds like a great story. Do you have a title for that, or do you have any? Later we'll always put links in the show notes about any projects that you want to promote. But on that particular story, do you have plans to go into production, or any news on that?
Yeah, it's currently it's called Shanghai Girls, because those women were all born and raised in Shanghai, China, and they will. We have already shot probably 60-70% of the footage, and now it's in post-production.
Wow!
But because we have other projects going on, so this kind of is always there and on hold, and we constantly have new ideas, new approaches for existing footage, and how we in terms of how we tell the story, how we structure the stories.
I think our process with this kind of project is it's never shoot everything and then it's in the edit and then it's done. Like we had a similar-ish approach in a way to The Six. We were shooting and editing scenes whilst still doing research, and
right.
It's a bit more organic, and I think it's really interesting sort of seeing the material, then returning to it again, and discovering new ways of telling the stories.
Well, I look forward to seeing that. So good. Now, this next question is a trick question. What question did I not ask you that I should have?
Ooh. I think you asked a pretty good question. Well, maybe we can respond to that with a trick question of our own. Like, what answers did we not give? Is there anything that you'd like us to expand on a little bit more?
What documentary makers are the ones that ask questions. I'm used to asking questions and digging out the truth. What makes you get into this industry? How did you become a podcast host, and why?
Very, very good. Very good. Here's a trick question. Is censorship an issue with these documentaries?
No. Actually,
Really?
and I'm sure there will be some listeners who are like, "Oh, they're just saying that."
But that's the truth.
It's the truth.
That is the truth.
In order to, so The Six was, as I mentioned, theatrically released, and anything that goes into cinemas, and also if it wants to be streamed online, has to get the Green Dragon seal,
Right.
kind of like the what is it, the MPAA
Right.
rating in the US. But an actual official government body, and we got that with no cuts.
We went through the whole process very smoothly without any requirement for cutting anything.
Yeah, almost never that happens.
Yeah.
And I mean, certainly, this is a film that is it's very much ingrained in the Chinese diaspora and experiences of migration around the world in the sort of late 19th, early 20th century. The Titanic story aspect of it is sort of the excuse to go into other stuff. And it's a very globally reaching story. And we just, because of how this kind of, the process works. I mean, I think anywhere in the world you take a movie and you expect to be told, oh, you need to cut this or you'll get this rating or whatever.
Right.
But it was really, really quite phenomenal. And I think, that plus the reception it's had in China, and then, the reception that it's getting now that it's doing its internationals. I mean, we've just been at Vancouver International Film Festival, for example, and a bunch of others. I think what we're learning is that this is it's a story that resonates universally, that everybody, no matter what their cultural background, their personal background might be, is connecting with the story that we told in that film. And I think in terms of, the idea of censorship is, there wasn't anything, I think, said in it that would be found objectionable.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very humanly true story.
Actually, you would be surprised that when you're in China, I think, because for filmmakers, you would think, oh, there will be a lot of censorship being monitored, whatever. But the whole process of us making The Six, it was all we were given a lot of just like full freedom from first of all, our investor. They didn't put any strings on us. They didn't say you need to do that, you need to do that. They were just like, we completely trust you. You have I believe in you telling a good story. And then going through the film bureau for getting permits for each stage. They liked our initial treatment, and they liked our rough cut. They liked our final cut. It was all very smooth. Yeah. I was actually very surprised.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't change anything that we didn't want to change. I mean, our director wanted to change this and bits, and that created a lot of process issues, because once the image is locked, you go into print and stuff, and if he wanted to make any small changes, it would create another amount of money to go through the process technically. So apart from our director's little fussy requirement, we never had any issues of other censorship.
And I mean, I think obviously censorship is often a buzz topic when it comes to talking about China-based productions, but also, thinking about endorsement that this film has received. And, the biggest endorsement that we received was James Cameron, for agreeing to very, very generously giving us some time to interview him, and he appears in the film, and then even more generously coming on board as our executive producer. And I think James Cameron is obviously one of the foremost voices on the subject of Titanic. He speaks very passionately on a number of the issues that the film touches on, and we already knew we had something good. but that level of validation, I think, speaks volumes.
Exactly. Well, you got the green dragon card and James Cameron, so it's a win-win. A win-win. So what advice can you give those aspiring to tap into the China market?
I think it's an interesting turn of phrase that I hear a lot. To tap into the China market.
Being friendly to start with is always something.
Exactly. I think when you put it as tap into the China market, and no critique of you here, Caryn, because I know that this is a phrase that gets used a lot. It sounds like you're like, oh, there's a fountain of money there. We want some of it. We should fill up our bucket with some of the China money. And I think that's firstly a little bit ignorant, and secondly deprives you of such great creative opportunities. This isn't just the world's largest cinema audience, money. This is a whole diversity of cultures, ideas, creatives, talents, collaborators.
Right.
And in the same way that movies pour into China either through theatrical or through other distribution means and find a great audience, coming from America to China. It would be great to see more of that going in the opposite direction. There are China isn't just wushu movies. It isn't just martial arts movies. Although there are many fantastic examples of that genre, it's diverse, complex storytelling. I mean, even from our sort of focus of documentary, there's amazing history of documentary production in this country, and certainly domestically. I think it's fair to say the documentary is starting on an up again at the moment. We're not just us, but there's been a number of really amazing documentaries distributed in China just in the past 12 months. I hope that. Yeah, as I say, that would be my advice. Don't think of it as tapping in and getting money. Think of it as a culture, a community, a talent pool that you can benefit from being a part of at all levels. Always think of it as a collaboration, never as a money grab.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Luo Tong, you echo that or anything different?
Well. Practically, because I run my own business, and I'm also a kind of business person. Business terms, if you start, getting into a relationship with a friendly gesture, it's always a good start. And respect whatever your business partner is doing, that maybe will form into a better collaboration. That is something that I would advise or future business partners for anyone who wants to establish certain kind of relationship to find a partner with, then being friendly is always a good start.
Exactly. Now, in conclusion, would you like to share any social media details or website links so our audience can keep track of your work?
Yes, because I know all of them. So for if you'd like to follow LostPensivos films, that's Lost, LOST, Pensivos, PENSIVOS films, or at LP Films. We're one of those two on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And if you're interested in learning more about The Six, you'll find us at thesixdocumentary.com. We're rolling out for a UK theatrical release, a limited release in a week's time. Wow, that came up fast. And we've also got further festival dates coming up in North America, both Canada and the United States.
Wow.
We'll be at KDOX Film Festival in Vancouver from the 17th of November. Also, right now, I'm not sure when this episode will be published, we'll be at Philadelphia Asian American Film Festival until the 14th. Both of those are virtual platforms. And our social media.
This week.
This week, yeah. The Six Documentary, at the Six Documentary on Facebook and Instagram, at the Six Film on Twitter. And if you're interested, if you're interested in seeing any of our older productions, Caryn, you mentioned the Poseidon Project. We've also got Farewell Song and a couple of shorter things you'll find at lpdocs.net, either to rent for a small fee or available to watch for free.
Wow, that is great. And I'll put all that in the show notes. So we could link to that. But Luo Tong and Matthew, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This has been very interesting. I especially, loved having two people. I think you're the first podcast with actually two people. So this is the first. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for
having us. Thank you.
And we'll see you both at the premiere.
Bye.
And now for my 3 key points and 3 takeaways. 3 key points. Number 1, when you don't get the job. Of course, you'll do research to get jobs and do lots of pitches. Nevertheless, sometimes you won't get that job. Certainly, it's disappointing, but as Luo Tong pointed out, in the end, it works out. How? She uses that experience to work on another project, and she usually gets a better deal on the next job. Number 2, investors and directors may have different ideas. What do you do if your client/investor and your director have different ideas? To illustrate, Luo Tong said she has gotten very skillful at handling comments/criticism from the client. However, when relaying it to the director, she makes sure there is a positive outcome for both sides. Evidently, this is a skill all producers need, which is wrangling creative people. Number 3, women underrepresented in film. Furthermore, Matthew brought up how women are underrepresented in key production roles, such as director, producer, DP, editor, etc. Both Luo Tong and Matthew reiterated it's a positive experience to have more female team members. In particular, they mentioned that their female editing staff can find that story in a documentary, for example, better than their male counterparts. Now, 3 takeaways. Number 1, sexism on set. With this in mind, Luo Tong heard that in the past, on China film crews, female crew were not allowed to sit on apple boxes on set. Why? Supposedly it would have had a bad influence on the film. Now, obviously, that's an old tradition and hopefully an outdated one. To enumerate, Matthew pointed out that sometimes a film crew will assume the female director or female DP is just a PA there to get coffee. This mindset of refusing to recognize women for their contribution hurts the film industry, and every industry, I might add. Number 2, Chinese studios want Western distribution. Chinese studios find it difficult for their films to find an international audience. The problem usually isn't the production values, which has improved greatly in the last few years. The challenge is the script. How do you make your story appeal to a wider audience? See my blog post, How Chinese Films Can Attract an American Audience. And the link will be in the show notes. Number 3, tap into the China market. This term might unintentionally sound like a money grab. Namely, if you think China is a fountain of money to tap into, that's the wrong attitude. Matthew pointed out China is more than just wushu movies. Look at the China market as a culture, a community, a talent pool you can benefit from and be a part of. Above all, think of it as a collaboration and not a money grab. Well, that's the show. Thank you for listening. To show your support, wherever you get your podcast, please leave a rating. These ratings boost the show and make it easier to build the audience. This, in turn, attracts more guests. And producers and talent reps, remember, the China list is free. You can post calls for submissions on our private writing jobs page, find scripts and writers. Just go to https://chnlist.com. Writers, get your material seen in Hollywood and China. And you can post requests for Chinese or Western writing partners on our private writing jobs page. Just go to https://chnlist.com and sign up. That's the show. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you at the premiere. Bye. 一会儿见.